a really important part, and that was the part about assessing our student outcomes. Earlier, I passed out student outcomes to you, and then right in front of Ms. Sabetsky there's a copy of those. So if we can get a copy of those real quick to everybody. And we've seen these before, some of us have and some of us haven't. And so if you can look at the one that is the bulleted one on research, which is bullet 2 of write, speak, and effective on the first page, research papers in each one of these classes. And it's on each one of the pages that it's bulleted. So,
Are you talking about the one that's highlighted? Or?
No, the one that's highlighted is
English, U.S. history, and CT, sports medicine. It's right here.
yeah, so it's the second bullet of write and speak in an effective, communicative, persuasive manner. And I got some Sharpies here as well, some highlighters, but my goal in getting us started in this process is to kind of pick our poison. So I have a coach for the New Leaders Program, and basically the data-driven instruction model is the model that they want all of our school districts to kind of adopt. And it starts top down. Even the principals are going to train for data-driven instruction. At our level, in the trenches, I'm really looking at this as, are we doing what we say we're going to do? And how do we know we're doing what we say we're going to do? And then when I showed this to my coach, she had the epiphany that I had, which was, if we try to assess all these things, we won't get anything done, and we won't do anything effectively. So if we pick one strand of one of these items to drill down into, to try to do assessment on, that we think is going to help move the mountain in terms of student achievement, then I think we've built a success that we can actually hang our hats on. We're going to go for certification soon, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But if we can have this as a driving force to help us assess things, then we'll have some really good data to show that assessment team as well. So I feel like that's a great place to start. And then in my experiences going on study trips and talking to students post high school, their biggest angst has been, I can't do research papers, or I can't do research, or research papers are hard. So one of the strands that I'm proposing that we kind of focus on is the research paper strand. But what I want to do is I want to kind of agree on a strand right now in this meeting that we're going to try to focus on, and just keep that one strand as our data focus. So what we collect information is going to be towards assessing students' level of mastery in this one area. So I want to give some wait time for folks to kind of look at this, but I really want you to kind of look and then pull out the strand that you think is going to help us make some type of difference in these students' lives this year. And if you don't believe one exists there, propose a new one and let's put it there.
So with the research paper, are you going to be gauging how many students completed, or at what?
That's for us to decide. That's for us to decide.
So how many are we going to do?
I think I'm more stuck on the ideology of research papers being beneficial to students in a lot of different classes, and they're relevant across the curriculum. So I'm thinking about how we are going to be able to assess this in our own classroom. And I think at every grade level, doing levels of research, understanding primary and secondary resources, which are part of Common Core, are there. So how do we?
So how are we going to measure it?
That's the question that we have to decide, if we decide that's the case. So I want to give a couple of minutes though for folks to just take a look at this document that they have and then decide that they want to do this yes or no, or if there's something else better out there. But those are all good questions. want to do a quick look so we can move our agenda along and just kind of see where people are at with the document and if they think that the research strand is a good way to go. So you could start somebody and just pick a direction so we can get this thing going.
I like the idea of the research. My suggestion would be that we decide what we want the 12th grade research paper to look like, and then scaffold backwards from there. We can't just say 10th graders are going to complete a integrated research paper, because you're not going to be able to teach all research techniques all at the same time in 1 year. It's going to have to be scaffolded out, and I think if we identified what we want it to look like in 12th grade, then we can work backwards from 11th, 10th to 9th and start setting up how those steps will be put together.
So I have a question. I know in history we're all supposed to, do a research paper, and ninth grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, they all look different. We have different requirements, and we have different, sources we have to get through depending on, what grade. Do you do that in English at all, or is it just everyone's doing their own thing?
The English department doesn't have a set step-by-step pattern to that.
So, and another question is, when we're talking about research papers, is like integrated, is this, when is he going to be doing this with Mr. Nakahara, is he going to be doing this with you, or is this each class going to have their own research paper for, their specific subjects?
Not trying to interrupt our whip, but I mean, just to interject, I really feel like what he said was probably where we need to go. If we scaffold backwards, I think all that's going to come out in the wash, and then we get to decide whether that's the appropriate way to do this. If it's not in Kara's class through an integrated project, then is it some level of like projects within our classes that we do? I mean, but I agree with you. We got to figure out what this is going to look like and how this is going to shape out.
So is this addressing our goals of preparing students for career as well as being college ready? When I think research paper, I'm thinking college, not career. Because we have students who will be going directly into a career as soon as they graduate. So how does the research paper tie in with that? I'm not sure that I see the link.
I'm going to reserve comment for a second.
Yeah, I guess I think the alternative way to go would be the point about classroom project-based learning, and it's there's also a focus on presentation, so that could have a presentation component to it.
Which bullet were you talking about?
Right in school.
Students will, in leadership and teamwork, engage in classroom project-based learning, and then there was the point about doing presentations in academy classes in front of peers and in front of an authentic audience. And I think that those two could go together. I'm not necessarily proposing that it's better than the research paper option, but those seems like the two options to me.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking that part of doing good research maybe that's a component of assessing good research.
Mm-hmm.
Is how they're able to express their ideas in front of an authentic audience and actually cite their sources, where they got their information. Basically defend what it is that they're trying to express to their audience. So I kind of feel like that's definitely part of it. And then for me, the connection with the research is post-secondary ready, career ready, because we can have them do research of all kinds of different career fields as well. Career fields that don't necessarily link to direct college. They could be career fields that they can get into with some other level of training. But we at least have to assume that we're preparing our kids to do more training beyond high school, because that's what we all know is going to create some sustainability in their lives and allow them to actually have some upward mobility. So I kind of feel like that was my idea when I thought of research, that it was deeper than just this is what colleges do, but that was the one thing that when we went to colleges, they really stressed that our students don't know how to do research. And I don't think if you're in a career field that it behooves you not to learn how to do research and cite primary documents, even if it's just for the benefit of keeping your own job and knowing how to sustain yourself in your career. So I get it though. I mean, I don't know if we need to go to the point where it has to be a a college level of preparedness for research, or if that's something that we strive to hit, but it definitely needs to be something that's practical, that the students could use in their real lives. Because otherwise, I don't even want to teach it. This is the waste of their time.
Well, it's gonna be probably across the curriculum in our Common Core requirements, so.
That's what I'm thinking. That's why I picked it too. I figured like it's everybody's kind of buzz right now. It's like you have to get primary resources in the classroom. You have to be able to cite sources. So what I didn't like about this is the way it was written, because it looks the same language all the way through.
Mhm.
And so we definitely need to add some pieces to the language so that at each grade level there's something else that they're doing. And then in Mannix's piggyback again, probably we need to think about what the seniors need to do and then work backward from there. So by when they're freshmen, we know that we're building towards their ability to do this by the time they're seniors.
So, like I said, we've already done this with history, so I could get that paper and we could use that as a reference, because we've already broken down what they should do in each year, and it's different. Not only with the sources they use, but also the length of the paper and what's expected of them.
And that could be a marker right there. The length of the paper, what's expected of the student, that could be a
Sources.
marker. And that's something that hopefully we can assess throughout class, and then maybe even build in like mini assessments in there. Okay, how do you identify primary and secondary resources? Can you read a primary or secondary resource and do a summary? Can you read it and do an analysis? Can you read it and create a spirited argument for or against an ideology that's being presented? Those are the types of things I think that build on each other to the point where we can have those bigger expectations and see if they're senior year and not feel like they weren't scaffolded or they weren't supported previously. So some kids are going to get it and some kids are going to even have a clue because they didn't get it from another teacher. You know, so it looks like we have some agreements that we're going to use this strand or no. And the only caveat would be that Sobetsky made the point about actually doing research as part of a presentation that we might get to an authentic audience, which to me is completely valid and connected to all of this. I just don't want to bite off more than we can chew in 1 year, and I want us to have something that's somewhat focused.
I think Claire also included that it should be project-based.